Speaking of non sequitur, I want to add something to it. The last time that Miami beat Cincy for the victory bell was 2005.
Oh my God.
Who was the quarterback on the 2005 Miami Redhawks squad?
Was it the hamburger guy?
Wear a fucking helmet, Ben Roethlisberger.
That is substantial. Now, the one thing also I want to figure out about that is, like, I didn't know they gave out Pokemon for winning a college football game. That's really interesting.
I got nothing for that.
Should we do the music?
Yeah, before I ask you what Victory Bell would like evolve into.
I should know off the top of my head. It's one of the few, because that's like a Gen 1, I'm pretty sure. But I don't know what the evolution is.
The real question is, what's the Psyhawk?
Ooh, that would be a hell of a trophy.
Please play the music.
And welcome to the All Pokemon Hour. We're your hosts, Zach, Dan, and Jay. And today we are talking about Pokemon number 71. That is Victory Bell, the evolution from Bellsprout and Weepinbell as a plant Pokemon. Okay, we're never going to talk about Pokemon. We've exhausted our Pokemon content.
You far exceeded my Pokemon content long ago.
I was just playing along.
Bulbapedia exceeded you. I had nothing to do with that. This is, of course, a Fairly KickAss podcast.
I'm kind of disappointed that it's not called Pokepedia, but I actually think that's probably a different website that you have to pay for.
Yeah, I was about, like, Rule 34. Like, there's...
Yeah.
Ooh,
is that the one that says every hooker has a heart of gold, but none of them have herpes?
The rule
if
of the
that
site
stays in, I would be floored. I would be absolutely shocked if that's just not one long bleep like Craig Ferguson style.
The worst part is I'm sitting here trying to work a Lauren Boebert joke into this, and I'm just coming up empty.
There's another joke to be made there, too, and I can't.
I was really hoping I set somebody up.
Something about Beetlejuice. I got nothing.
Oh, no. I didn't even... I mean, we are talking about Halloween, and these are very horrifying times. Especially if you're in Colorado. Yeah. So, interestingly, this is our Halloween top 5 episode. This is the Redux, I guess, part 2. The second coming of our Halloween top 5 episode.
Just stop.
This is the second iteration of our top 5. Oh my God. The whole episode's just a bleep. We're done. We got to get off the booth.
Oh, man.
If y'all have been longtime listeners of ours, we have what we call the Vault, which is a collection of episodes for a long time, probably about a year, maybe a little longer, that predated Spotify. So when we moved to Spotify, we didn't move the old episodes with us. We just, kind of went forward with new stuff. But we still had a ton of old stuff. I think we posted a few of them, maybe 2 or 3 of them in past episodes. For this, we decided, instead of posting from the vault, that we were just going to redo this episode and kind of see where we stood today. If we were going to take what we had previously and integrate that into our currents, if we were going to completely rip off our old list and kind of recycle it and pretend that it was new, not that any of us did that, or if we were just going to, go for it completely green.
See, unlike Disney, when we release stuff out of the vault, we're not doing it to, completely gouge your wallet for reselling you old content for new high prices.
Right.
I'm just trying to get us canceled left and right, dude. Left and right.
I mean, I think we lost the Disney spawn long ago, so you're safe there.
That's fair.
But yeah, it is the reason for the season, and I don't know why I said that. So just strike that from the record, and we can get started with this whole thing.
That can stay in.
It's like the only thing we've said so far.
Exactly.
Can.
Music,
He is.
the reason for the season, Jay's number 5.
Oh, I get to start.
Hell of a
Woo-hoo.
segue.
Completely arbitrary.
Completely arbitrary and caught me off guard as I was so unprepared. Well, I'm going to start with my number 5 track as one of my top Halloween tracks. I don't know how y'all made your lists, but mine are based on things that popped into my head in the moment that were either super creepy or somewhat based on Halloween themes and super creepy. So I'm going to start with a song that is a little bit, a lot obscure, by a band called The Paper Chase. Put out a lot of records, actually, but only a few that people heard. And I used to play this song when I was a DJ on the radio at 4 o'clock in the morning because it was creepy and it made people cringe. And the people that are listening to the radio at 4 o'clock in the morning are the people who want to hear that. So I went with this tune. It has a discordant piano thing going on, a drum piece that's throughout that is kind of sounds broken and loud, and John Congleton on vocals screaming about how he did a terrible thing and somebody better hide the kitchen knives. This song is called I Did a Terrible Thing. It's my number 5 tune because it's the most obscure thing I put on. It's the most obscure thing on this list. It is, however, something that has stuck in my head for over 20 years because of just how insane it is. It's the rantings of a madman on a microphone recorded in song. It's intense. It's an intense song.
So it's more spoken than it is sung then?
Spoken might be not the right way. It's more emphatically wailed.
Oh, yeah, that
on
qualifies
rhythm
as creepy.
With discordant piano chords underneath it. It's so bizarre. And I can still hear it in my head. It's a good song. Like, I like the song, but it's wild.
Yeah, that seems like it obviously checks the creepy box, but also the kind of special subset of that, like the unsettling box as well.
It's so unsettling. Like, you could imagine this being your neighbor and it's a horror movie.
Oh God.
It's that vibe.
Well, I think that is definitely going to fit this list perfectly then. I'm excited to, I figured a lot of these would not be your traditional Monster Mash-esque sorts of jams. I'm sure that a lot of those will end up here, but we tend to go outside the box every so often on this podcast. So I figured we'd have some from a left field.
Yeah, I intentionally avoided those.
Nice. I did too, in a way.
Well, let's hear what you had to say then. What did you go with?
So I kind of mentioned the whole vault thing, and I'm not usually one for taking, or at least at first, like earlier in our podcasting days, I wasn't one for taking a lot of notes. I winged it a lot, and that showed certainly. But somehow, some way, I happened upon my damn near full notes for the first iteration of this episode. And I thought, well, they're here and I'm here, and these are terrible. It was a terrible list. It was terrible notes. But, what the hell? It's Halloween. It's supposed to be fun. So I figured I would see how all these played out, a couple years later. So with that said, I'm admittedly not the biggest fan in the world of the Halloween holiday, and thus I'm not a great fountain of knowledge for the best jams on offer there. So instead, I picked a few songs that touch on different aspects that I feel are important to the holiday, such as my number 5 song that checks several of those boxes. A creepy moodiness that dots the entire track, and the lyrics that help paint a very spooky picture, especially the lyrics discussing conquering and devouring. That's a pretty Halloween thing, I think. It makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. My number 5 Halloween song is The Hollow by Perfect Circle.
Ooh.
The song might have a different interpretation, sure, but the one I choose to go with is the very embodiment of this here holiday.
I have no notes. That is a brilliant song. It was the perfect way to open Mer de Noms.
Mm-hmm. A banger, by the way.
Yeah, I don't. It's not one that I would have thought of for this list, but I can't argue with the choice.
And I approve because it's forcing me to think about a record I haven't thought about in a long time. So I'm gonna have to go back and verify. But I'm also now I'm gonna have to try and recontextualize that song after you put it in a new light. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've forgotten how brilliant that record was too. I know what I'm doing tonight. but what I'm doing right now is throwing over to Dan for his number 5. God damn it.
And what I'm doing right now is withholding literally everything else that I thought of to respond.
That's fair.
However, I actually also managed to find my notes from the original episode. I love that we're just not shying away from this. We're just going to go with it. And what I apparently did back then was to like soundtrack a Halloween party. And so I was off the beaten path, but in a much different way that's probably more expected for me than you guys were. And then I saw that list. I'm like, well, yeah, we're not doing that again, and junk that shit. So instead, I was going to legitimately try, and I wanted to go forward. And so I went with the idea that if a song, for one reason or another, like made your skin crawl, I wanted to consider it. And I found a lot of things. I had a larger short list than I ever thought I would have, just by thinking of a couple things and kind of, following and falling down some rabbit holes. But I would like to start with something that already kind of breaks away from the central theme of the list, but I still would defend it because it has some creepy to it, but more in a Scooby-Doo kind of way.
Love it.
See if you get the kind of vibe as well. You listen to my number 5 song, Ghost Town from The Specials. Yeah, I didn't think I'd be putting a ska track on this list either, but it totally has that B-movie soundtrack vibe. Like I said, a Scooby-Doo kind of creepy sound to it, where it's not going to chill you to the bone, but it definitely makes everything sound a little spooky. Admittedly, the horns are the thing that make me not take it too seriously. That's why it's at number 5. But the vocals and grooves set that darker tone. Totally lives up to its name. And Jerry Dammers' main aim to convey a sense of incoming doom. Granted, he was making a statement on the British recession of the late 70s and early 80s and the social unrest gripping the country at the time. But there are parallels here, which much smarter people, I'm sure, could dive into at a later date. For now, I will just say, though, it does give off haunted house vibes, and that's why I put it on the list. Not the first time I will misinterpret a song tonight.
Well,
Cheers.
I mean, you do it for good purpose.
I do it all the time.
Horror takes many forms too, so I think the original interpretation is still pretty spot on horrifying.
Horror, thy name is Margaret Thatcher.
This town's becoming a ghost town.
Wow. Oh. There is no way to segue out of Margaret Thatcher to Jay's number 4, so I wasn't even going to try.
This one is a little more straightforward, though still somewhat obscure. My number 4 song is about a simple game of hide and seek, where the protagonist is seeking her partner. She keeps knocking on the door and taunts her partner to come out and play. She eventually finds her partner hiding and becomes the seeker. The song ends with her partner being it and having to pay the consequences of losing the game. This song is Hide and Seek by Liz Robinette. That's Liz with a double Z, if you didn't know that. Conceptually, it's not a very scary song. However, when you have just a piano and this pitched up, sweet sounding, childlike girl's voice saying, knock, knock, I'm at your door now, it ramps up the terrifying quite a bit. That's all I have. That's the song.
Yeah, it's a reminder that this is a holiday where kids are, kind of the subject of the scariness and the creepiness. They're the ones who are supposed to be spooked, but sometimes kids can be fucking spooky themselves too.
Right.
Fuck yeah. I mean, there's a reason that scene from The Shining works so well.
Yeah, It's terrifying, right? And when you picture a kid of that ilk, I suppose, a child of the corn, if you will, saying, ding dong, I know you can hear me, open up the door, I only want to play a little.
Oh.
Chills, right?
Just thinking about it. Shit.
That means you're getting stabbed if you open that door.
And it's a kid too, so you're probably going to get stabbed at the legs first, and then you're going to fall, and it's just not going to be a good day. It's a bad time.
Like, it's like when we were kids and the worst thing we could think of was to be murdered by Chucky.
Oh, this list is just going to get creepier, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. We got more.
Let's go. What do you got?
All right. Let's jump into my number 4 here, which maybe kind of a similar vibe to what Jay just mentioned, but it addresses things from the stereotypical mystical killer point of view that you see in the slasher fix. So not necessarily like the creepy kid, but more so the creepy supernatural figure. Jason, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers. This track could have been written from all of their vantage points. The location is a bit off, as the aforementioned bad guys typically don't get down in California or across the pond for that matter, but the vibe is right still. The calls are coming from outside the house, sure, but not from anywhere that you want to hear from, namely the outside as a whole and the other side, wherever that might be. No thanks, Adele. You can keep all your seemingly immortal murderers, and you can keep Halloween Jam Hello while you're at it. Now, I may not be well versed in the craft, but I know to get the hell out of Dodge when that piano hits. The hello out of Dodge, if you will.
Okay. First and foremost, you're reading your intro, and I thought you were gonna call for Michael Cimbello's Maniac.
That would have been a more appropriate choice, sure. I mean, in as much, I guess, as the bar is low.
But instead, it is so much better. Because I love the recontextualization of this song about a woman calling her ex back years after they break up to see how he's doing because she's not quite over him, into this bellow of the Warriors almost, of Adele doing the come out and play.
Right. That was actually pretty stellar.
Now I have another song I'll never be able to listen to the same way again.
I think you might have broken me.
That was the hope with this list. It's not going to get any less weird from here on out.
Good.
The thing I'm going to enjoy the most is when this episode gets posted and we pull it up on the Spotify mobile app, and it lists all the songs, like it breaks it down, part 1 song, part 2 song, part 3 song. Just running down that playlist is going to be amazeballs. That's all I'm going to say.
There will be a lot of heads being scratched.
And I'm here to continue that odd playlist.
Please do.
By all means.
I'm going to give you my number 4, and you're going to think it's silly, and it is on its face, kind of. I'll grant you that. But then recontextualize and then roll around in your head, and it actually is terrifying if you take it as a window into someone who is dealing with paranoia and possibly schizophrenia. This is Rockwell with Somebody's Watching Me. Granted, the only reason we really remember this track is because of MJ's chorus. But still, it's scary AF if you sink into the shoes of the protagonist and really let it go through your head like that. I'm just a normal guy. I just want to be left alone. Somebody's got their eyes on me. Are they watching from the road? Are they here in the shower with me? That's a bit of a jump. It sounds playful and could very easily just be a commentary on the intrusiveness of celebrity culture 20-some years before it would get really, really, really bad and QE2 would hire a paparazzi photog to bump off Diana. But you read into it this way, and this man is totally losing his grip on reality and sliding towards a full-on break. And yes, like I said, 99% of that is all a personal read into it, and maybe that's telling. I don't know. But at least 4 of the other voices in my head agreed with me when I decided this, so we had a quorum, so I put it on the list.
Beautiful.
That's what I'm talking about. Just a song that you don't expect to ever. It even does kind of sound creepy, just, in a vacuum, too.
Well, the opening synth line is just off-putting for some reason. It's
for sure.
Just sharp the wrong way.
It definitely gives off thriller vibes, just sonically.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it was accused of that at the time. It was all this is obviously Michael Jackson's on it. And it's a very similar feel to Thriller and some of the other stuff, but you know.
Oh, it fits. It has its own area, its own niche, and it fits it well. Good choice.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, I think we're 6 for 6 so far, boys.
Well, that you know of. You haven't heard the one.
We're at least 4 for 4, and I'm going to
There you
assume
go.
the other two are solid too.
Well, you know.
There you go.
But yeah, let's jump over back to Jay's side of the haunted house for his number 3.
I feel like I read the assignment a little differently than Dan did. And
That's usually how this works, though.
yeah, it is. And it works out really well because now we have a really wide variety of tunes in this playlist. So we're going to jump from Somebody's Watching Me to Bayou Stoner Metal. Down in Louisiana, they do things a little differently sometimes. And in the early 90s, the Bayou Stoner Metal scene was at its peak with the band Acid Bath. A lot of songs in their catalog were about, death, dismemberment, blah, 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 blah. Metal themes. This particular song is likely a criticism of modern society and its ills, but in practice, the song is a powerful invocation of darkness. It is all about insanity and despair. The lyrics describe a person turning a knife buried in their stomach, the gory details of death, the general feeling of desperation. Death, dismemberment, darkness, violence, and chaos. The song is called Finger Paintings of the Insane.
Title fits.
Yep. It also happens to be on their album, When the Kite String Pops. And the cover of that album is a painting done by John Wayne Gacy of a clown, because that's what he did.
Yeah.
There's just layer after layer of terrifying.
Yeah, I think that was maybe the first one where like the title just leaves nothing to the imagination, at least of the ones we've talked about.
Yeah, there's nothing left to the imagination here. None at all. I mean, I could go into describing the music and how cool it is and how the guitars and drums all work perfectly together and his vocals are spot fucking on. But none of that really matters for this list because it's all the content.
And it all goes together too, I think. Like there are Halloween songs that are just objectively good songs about Halloween or Halloween
Agreed.
adjacent or however you want to call it. It sounds like this definitely fits that mold.
I feel like we're also like along that line. There's probably an entire genre that you could line up, a whole genre that qualifies in that slot.
Yeah, and honestly, like the bulk of Acid Bath's lyrics fall into that anyway. Like the other song titles on that album are things like Scream of the Butterfly and We Smoke the Bones of Baby Dolls and Cassie Eats Cockroaches. And then we get into stuff from their next record where it's he gives his poetry, which is lines like, we eat the wise men's eyes for sight that we might see the darkness if we kill the lights fast enough. You can't write any darker than that.
That's beautiful though. That's dark, but that's beautiful.
Yeah. Cool.
Yikes. that sounds like another one. I don't know how I know the first one you mentioned was more obscure. I've heard of Acid Bath. I haven't heard of this specific song, but yeah, I'm excited to just go back and listen to all these, like Dan said, one after the other. It's going to be jarring.
The juxtaposition is hellish on its own.
Indeed. That is unexpectedly, Jay. That's actually the perfect segue to my number 3.
Nailed it.
Well done.
Nice.
So for this, I looked less at the songs for my number 3 and more at the visual, specifically the music video for this particular song. Unlike Christmas, which is far more about the music, this holiday seems to be predominantly visual in nature. So instead of sounding scary, we needed a music video that looked scary. And sorry, I didn't review this at all from when I wrote these years ago, and I'm just getting to these lines. It's not the best. And what could be scarier than a quartet of action figures playing pop punk? I'll tell you, a quartet of action figures playing pop punk while being watched by the likes of Ozzy Osbourne, Alice Cooper, Marilyn Manson, and even a missile. Not even the likes of Jesus Christ who also features in the video, can save anyone from the horror that is the Halloween song by Sum 41, the Hell Song. Although, real talk, the light bright behind the band is a nice touch. But yeah, still waiting to stop shivering in fear after that one.
So you made a comment at the beginning of that review, and I gave you a thumbs up, thinking you were going one direction with it, and then swerve.
I feel like I have whiplash.
I may have been taking an acid bath while I wrote this list. I don't know.
But I admire your dedication to this previous list, that you're going to stick through this. You did not edit that.
He didn't even read it.
The best part.
We're going all in.
But we're going to go full. We're going to sally forth no matter what. And I fucking love it.
Oh my gosh, that was way better than I expected it to be so far.
I also enjoy that song, so I will at least make some kind of comment about your pick.
Yeah, a ridiculous list addition to the side. It is a jam for sure. Well, we got more jams coming, I have a feeling, and Dan, I've got a sinking suspicion that your number 3 is also going to be a jam.
Yes. Now, when I say that this is more of a segue through Jay's pick than yours, like, I'm not bullshitting you. This is true. And horror metal tracks totally fit like anywhere on this list, especially if I was trying to think of something creepy and I had to make a call somewhere because I had to have something in there. So fuck it, we'll go with a classic, one of the first and one of the best. That just, I mean, come on, it's Slayer and Raining Blood. And the best part is, like, think about this: can a revenge song really be creepy? Well, fuck yes, especially when it's, a revenge song involving angels and demons and the literal battle for heaven, where a cursed soul cast into purgatory returns to heaven and to extract his vengeance, with the titular crimson being the blood of angels. There's metal as fuck there. And then crosses, but here's the thing, it actually hit me in the creepy at the very end. Because when you know all of this, you know the whole story of the song, and then you hit the outro, which is the end of the record, by the way. And it's just a steady downpour. And it takes a while to tail off. And the idea hits you is that banished soul got the job done. It sends a tingle, and not in the folding towels and tapping on the mic way.
That is a solid way to end an album.
Right?
Like, that's just the last thing you hear. It just is, you're just unsettled and there's nothing to bring you back to settlement.
Yeah, also that's a wonderful song, start to finish. Like, that's just solid metal songwriting.
I'm not going to lie. The highlight of my entire college radio career was being on the air June 6th of 2006, because I am old as fuck, and opening and closing my show with that song. Either way, I did a 2-hour political talk show at the time.
Yeah, I was trying to think, like, in the time period of where you would have been.
No, it didn't matter. Just said, hey, today it's 666, so this is what we're playing. This is our intro. Bam.
Yeah, I would make the argument that that's not their creepiest song by a landslide.
Oh, no, not at all.
It's a very cool song. But they actually did write a song. It's on Divine Intervention. I think it's called 213. That is about the experience of being Jeffrey Dahmer.
God damn.
Okay, that song is horrifying.
That probably trumps this one. Yeah. But I want to sleep tonight, so I'm gonna pass on that one for the time being.
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't go that route. And Raining Blood is definitely a better song. Like, it is a better song all around.
The route I would like to go, though, is to your number 2 song.
Do you? You said something about wanting to sleep tonight. I don't think we want to go this route. So there's really only a handful of songs and videos that were too much to be played on MTV. This is one of those songs that has a video that was banned for being too scary, but not the original. I don't want to play the original, and I'll tell you why. The song is Come to Daddy by Aphex Twin, which is, it's the Pappy mix is the one that had the video that was banned on MTV, and it is super creepy with, Duder's face destroying the city. It's a super creepy video. Now imagine that, but take the creepy, scary molestation vibe to Mike Patton levels, right? Skyrocket that. Oh, and then also put spaz, energetic metal band Dillinger Escape Plan underneath him. So now you have Dillinger Escape Plan featuring Mike Patton on vocals doing Come to Daddy by Aphex Twin. Yeah. You genuinely believe that Mike Patton wants to eat your soul.
I mean, I believe that before this moment. But yeah, that sounds like and it's Mike Patton, so it's going to sound outstanding.
Right, exactly. It's sonically perfect and weird and scary.
That's the unholy trinity right there.
No, sorry, I was trying to catch up on the video, and I'm only like 50 seconds in.
The Aphex Twin video?
Yeah, I should have just listened to your advice at the beginning of it that you're reading there.
Yeah, you wanted to sleep. Don't do that.
Nah, never mind. Never mind. Sleeps for the week, apparently.
Yeah. There's always tomorrow for that. You're good. You're good.
I could sleep when I'm dead, which, if that video is any indication, should only be about 8 hours from now.
It's good stuff.
Definitely not a midnight or 1 a.m. viewing, listeners.
No.
If you want to jump down that rabbit hole as well, just wait until daylight. It'll be for the best. Trust us.
Mm-hmm. What else is for the best, Zach?
So, oh my God, how's this going to go? So let's combine scary shit, shall we? First off, a band so seemingly demonic that their own debut album mentions Satan by name. Nothing against the S-Man. Did I actually write that? Oh gosh, this is why you maybe review your notes before you read them on a podcast.
You are
but we're in for a penny.
Go all the way.
We are moving through it. The only way forward is through. Nothing against the S-Man, but I ain't about to cross him either, not literally or figuratively. One of the founding members once said, quote, "The music was designed to be obnoxious," which is true. It's very obnoxious, but it will also raise the hairs on the back of your neck thanks to the yelling, the incoherent speaking in tongues, at least I assume that's what it is, and the subject matter as well. Because if you're like me and dislike the winged things that sting, that was a good line, then maybe you should give a pass to Halloween track Bumblebee by Ween. I mean, you should give it a pass on principle because Ween is trash, but at least this fits with the reason for the season. Now that was in my notes. That wasn't me. That was 2 years ago.
Wait,
That was 2 years ago, when you wrote that.
I didn't say I disagree with it, but I didn't write it just now.
it's not like Ween's my favorite band or anything, but
I know, that's why I didn't know that at the time. Obviously, we've done this for so long, and I realize that now.
Yeah, I like Ween. The Mollusk is a great record. This one's not on. This one's on what, Axis?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. One of their late 80s albums.
I will admit that sometime after this, I did do a Ween listening binge. And while still not my cup of tea, I at least gained a greater appreciation for them as musicians.
Yeah, they're weird, but they're good.
Yeah.
This song is gnarly, though. You are not wrong about that.
Oh, it was a journey.
Isn't like half the song him just like yelling, oh shit, Jesus, I've been stung," or something like that?
Which, I mean, mood. Like, I think we've all been there for sure. Dan, can your number 2 track top the horror that is Bumblebees?
I seriously doubt it now. But I will move on to a track that's probably a little more, well, I was say a little more upbeat now that I think about it. But that's completely forgetting the fact that the other things I have already highlighted. So I think what I did is I wrote this part of the script, intending it to be lower down the list, and then just kept moving it around as other things came through. So instead, let me just continue with, how about we move on to a track that could be interpreted as a modern murder ballad or the immediate aftermath of some other horrible crime. Now, this was originally supposed to be at number 5. Instead, it moves all the way up to number 2. It's Queens of the Stone Age and Burn the Witch. The chorus builds this release of the spirit swirling around in the lyrics of the song's protagonists swearing to keep secret the deeds they've committed, likely to the eerie sounds bursting out of the lines, bite your tongue, swear to keep. And the imagery works really well and is unsettling if you fall into the brief and kind of ambiguous story. Sure, it's way less creepy when you learn that there's a really good chance it's the motivation for the song was Josh Homme whining about people whining when he fired a longtime bandmate. But I prefer to ignore the industry drama and look through the more horrifying lens. The basis of the track being the Salem witch trials, and those being ordered to bite their tongues are those who have just executed an innocent woman for being a witch, and her spirit is the one being released into the chorus. And yes, I did in fact figure out what the track was actually about after I wrote the intro, but then, couldn't be asked to go back and make the two halves join together. What, do you think we're competent and or professional writers or presenters here?
None of the above.
But actually, the thought that someone thinks that might be the creepiest thought of this whole show.
It's just sad. That's just sad. It's not, I don't know if it's creepy. It's sad.
What, that we're so bad at this?
No, that they think we're good at this.
Oh, yeah. The wool has been pulled over the eyes. Now, I don't know if the two of you have ever been to Salem, Massachusetts, or listeners, if y'all have been. And I certainly don't want to make this into a discussion of, paranormal, spiritual, anything. But if you go to Salem and you don't feel something in the air, if you don't have some sort of otherworldly sensation, then you're not me, because it definitely was a very unexpected sort of feeling there. And considering what happened in that town, like it stands to reason that there's something's going on, behind the scenes still to this day. It was awesome. It was amazing.
I have not been there. There's a part of me that is more than a little nervous to go there, mostly because my family has some history and it ain't always on the right side of it.
Yeesh. You may be getting a little side eye from some of the folks in the town.
From the spiritual plane, too, for that matter.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I'm more the part of the whole Salem thing, and I also don't mean to completely derail this into a whole other type of show, which I don't know if they mentioned as you were going through and jumping into the money machine that is Salem for that town. But did they tell you the story of Giles Corey?
It does not sound familiar, no.
The only man in the history of this country to be executed via pressing.
Oh, God. I mean, I don't have to ask what that is or logistically. I think we got the...
Yeah,
the
it seems pretty self-explanatory.
Right. But no, he refused to jump in and condemn. And if I remember the story correctly, I'm just kind of working off some crib notes from some YouTube, but I believe he lasted nearly 3 days being an elder of the town. And every time he was apparently asked to confess for a quick and painful death, all he did was ask for more weight.
Damn. I mean, talk about a horror there.
Right. Let's just turn that dial up to 11 on this one, eh?
Yeah, that just reached my top 5 of worst possible ways to go. That's up there. Mm-hmm. Yikes, yeah.
I also realized that I have dug myself a tremendous hole in trying to move this further down the line. So I'm just going to try and dig up and ask Jay if he has any honorable mentions worth mentioning.
Well, I don't know if they're worth mentioning, but I have them. So I went down a weird path before I landed on the list that I had. So I started by like nixing everything by Cradle of Filth, mostly because it's impossible to pick one. But if I had to, it'd be Born in a Burial Gown because I love that tune. I also went down the like sort of hokey, cheesy, Halloweeny songs and came up with, let's see, Rosemary Clooney's Wobblin' Goblin, or the B-side to that, Punky Punkin'. But I don't think those are on Spotify. There's also Dead Man's Party by Oingo Boingo that falls under that same category. They're fun tunes, good songs. But then I went down the weird route. After picking the Dillinger Escape Plan Come to Daddy, I wound up going down the Mike Patton route. He's got a lot of these. So like Mr. Bungle's song Dead Goon. Faith No More has a song called Jizz Lobber. And none of these are...
Excuse me? Can we pause real quick?
I was greased past it.
No, you're right. That's the best option. Let's keep it.
If you don't want me to pile on, stop saying things.
And then I wound up with another really cool, like mostly instrumental, creepy tune by Sun Zero called Bathory Ears a Bit. But it's like 16 minutes long, and I didn't feel that was fair. So I moved on. Oh, the other one that popped in my head briefly, and I didn't even write it down on here, is Werewolf Bar Mitzvah by Tracy Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah.
But mostly because like Morgan couldn't even be arsed to finish the song, so it's Donald Glover doing an impression of Tracy Morgan doing it's great. But didn't belong on my list.
I didn't know there was an end to that song. I thought it was just the one lyric and that was all of it.
No, it's a recorded song.
Oh my God. That is astounding. Donald Glover's talents just have no bounds.
How about your list? Did it have boundaries?
Not really at all. Because you mentioned a 15-minute track that you didn't want to do to the listeners, and apparently I did not want to do a 50-minute track to the listeners. That being the instrumental "Tubular Bells" by Mike Oldfield from the Exorcist soundtrack.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Much appreciated.
I did mention, we weren't going to do that to the people. I did mention in my notes that if we were going by release date, this is actually a Christmas movie, which I didn't realize. It came out on December 26, 1973. Shout out Boxing Day.
Nice.
Not Christmassy. Nope, not so much. I mentioned a song that I know I've mentioned at least once before on this podcast, You're Dead by Norma Tanega, a great song from the 60s. That, of course, is the theme to What We Do in the Shadows. I put Monster Mash on here because I guess if nothing, 2 years before, I was still a basic bitch. And then because I at least wanted to contribute something currently to this list, I did add a few honorable mentions currently. Two that I actually added today based on a couple of your picks. Dan, when you mentioned Somebody's Watching Me by Rockwell, that reminded me of another great Paranoia track being Dog at the Door by Aesop Rock. Very similar vibe. He hears a dog at the door and thinks that it has to be a number of really, really scary things. And it might be. Who are we to tell? Who are we to judge? And then Jay, when you mentioned Slayer's 213, discussing Jeffrey Dahmer or being impersonifying Jeffrey Dahmer, kind of being John Malkovich sort of deal, that reminded me of the song John Wayne Gacy Jr. by Sufjan Stevens, which chronicles the serial killer's life and history in excruciating and very truly scary detail. The fact that this is a soft acoustic song makes it even scarier in that way. It hits different. It's solid. And then the entire album, or I guess it's a mixtape, Turn Off the Light by Kim Petras. It's dance pop, it's techno, it is shiver-inducing, it's fan-fucking-tastic. I couldn't pick a song, so the whole thing gets on the list.
I'll tag some stuff at the end because I need y'all to stop mentioning songs so I can stop thinking of things to add to my honorable mentions list. So let's start with the stuff that I came with, which starts with The Who and Boris the Spider. And it didn't make the list because it gets even sillier than Somebody's Watching Me in the chorus. But there's the guitar tone and a vocal growl that is enough to send any arachnophobe into retreat. And then I had Radiohead and A Wolf at the Door. There's something about this song that makes me really, really uneasy, and I don't know what it is, and that might only enhance that fact. And then Florence and the Machine and The Girl with One Eye, a little less creepy and more straight up evil revenge song, because you can't get down on an epic classic blues style anthem about taking out someone's fucking eyeball, like actually taking out someone's fucking eyeball.
Yeah. No.
And then I would add real quickly Bauhaus and Bela Lugosi's Dead for funsies, and also Kathy Davy and End of the End. But then we kept talking, so I kept thinking, and I put two that came up after Somebody's Watching Me along similar paranoid lines, being Metallica's One, which is another terrifying, like, inward song. And then as Zach was talking about the A$AP Rock track, Ghetto Boys, My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me popped into my damn head. I'm like, oh yeah, completely different reasons than some of these other ones, but just as equally terrifyingly paranoid. And then there's something we had in a side chat that if you didn't mention, I was going to go ahead and mention, because it is a disturbing song, whether or not you know any of the story connected to it, but it's Mike Crozier and Broken Out of Love, which was the original theme song of the late great Bray Wyatt when he made his WWE debut. And it's fucking terrifying when you take that song and marry it with the Cape Fear gimmick he had going on at the time.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, just no.
Tracks that make you feel like being afraid, being scared, unsettled, shooketh, if you will. Like, those aren't necessarily bad feelings. Like, there can be a lot of, good and fun that comes of that.
It's one of my favorite emotions is the wrong word. It's one of my favorite vibes.
For sure.
I love being scared.
I mean, I think that's why, like, and I don't know when I realized this, but I feel like most people that I talk to say that Halloween is their favorite holiday. Like, friends, family, like, it's, Jay kind of pointed at himself there to add himself to the list. Like, it's palpable,
Yeah.
And with that, Jay, I think we're going to have you start taking us home with your very top of the top, creme de la creme, number one Halloween song.
So my number one song on this list is actually a little bit different than the rest of my list, in that this is the only one that kind of gets a little bit silly. Sort of the fun spirit of the holiday of Halloween, as opposed to the, tormented, twisted vibes that I so love about this time of year. But my number one song is more 60s TV sitcom Halloween vibes. Mostly. There's some other stuff there too, but I went with Black Number One by Typo Negative. Apparently a 16-minute song is too long for me to give you, but an 11-minute one is not.
There are layers to this.
This song is just cool, and it, talks about clove cigarettes and an erotic funeral, and it's his deep draconian voice, the harpsichord music in the middle, like the whole thing is just a cool, like old school Halloween vibe. It's the fun side of Halloween, and right up until he starts talking about how loving you is like fucking the dead. But right up to that point, it's a sitcom vibe.
Right up until that point. Before that, we were good. Yeah,
it takes a turn somewhere there in the middle, but it's still cool. We're good.
That's a good point. Yeah, like I kind of said jokingly, like there are layers to this, but like just the holiday and the vibe and the thematic aspect of the scariness, like the ghost with like the sheet with the eyes cut out, all the way to the other side of the spectrum with some of the other things that we've mentioned throughout these lists. Like all of it's great, all of it is awesome, and you don't have to be a kid to enjoy it. Either that, or we're all just kids that are, that have more miles on the old tires.
Well, that's true, but I think that you make the perfect point. Is that's also possibly one of those things that one of the reasons that so many people count this as their favorite holiday is that you can work in layers, So there's just as equally that Charlie Brown, it's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and then half the stuff we've talked about on this list, and there's a place for everybody to enjoy themselves. That's sort of unique amongst our favorite holidays. Mostly because a lot of you refuse to recognize Festivus for the truly great occasion that it is, or can
festival for the rest
possibly
of us.
be. Thank you.
That's a really good point that I hadn't thought of. Like, other holidays are so incredibly boxed in with, the right way, I'm putting my air quotes up, to celebrate it. Halloween is like, get scared and scare people and eat candy and just have a jolly time.
Word.
Can't beat it, man. Good choices all the way through, both of y'all.
Well, what good choice are you gonna cap your list with?
So we're gonna end here with horror. Pure, unadulterated horror. Specifically, the horror of this song being remotely popular, which it is. Now, what's weird is that my notes actually end at that point. I have those two lines for my number one song. I have what the song is written out. Or, in fact, I had the artist of the song. I actually didn't even write the song.
Wait. Does this mean Donald Glover is going to do a Zach impersonation to finish this review?
Yes, please. Let's have that.
That would be amazing. That is one of my dreams, in fact. But I don't know, maybe in the spirit of the holiday, maybe something happened to me. Maybe I came across those creepy ass kids with the knives, It was like when in the movies when like the character goes into a house and there's like still dinner on the stove and no one there. Like that's how the end of these notes felt. So I had to finish that up myself here recently. It was kind of the perfect and less than perfect end to this whole bit that I had apparently concocted way back when. So happy Halloween or happy Hallohan. Honestly, not sure which way it is, but what I do know is that the song Ultimate from the Freaky Friday soundtrack is chilling. And by chilling, I mean terrible and awful. And why this was my number one when I had actually 4 legitimately great songs before it with much better descriptions and interpretations is beyond me. You're going to have to get a time machine to go back and ask. My saving grace was that Lindsay Lohan had a song on the Freaky Friday soundtrack. Otherwise, I was just going to have to pick something randomly from her discography that was not going to be scary in the least.
When you say have to...
Yeah,
you would have had to.
Again, we were all in on this bit, Jay. We stopped until the end.
The thing is, I wouldn't doubt that there may have been a very, very good reason that this would have flown. And I think, honestly, this show would have even been something like 3 or 4 years old. So 4 years ago, you would have done something. I would love to know what we were thinking or how much we had drank when we came up with this idea.
All of it.
Yeah, actually.
We had drunk all of it.
For sure.
The rum was gone. And so we decided a dive into the discography of Lindsay Lohan was the perfect way to put a cap on this show.
It's the next deep dive.
Lord.
Don't you fucking do it.
How can I not?
If I
you
know
spoke this into existence.
If I come over in the near future and there's a script on your desk that is the deep dive Lindsay Lohan, I'm burning the script and I'm burning your desk.
I feel like I would have gotten off easy if that was the punishment.
Maybe the chair you were sitting in when you wrote it too, just to be safe.
That's more like it.
There you go. As long as I'm not still in it. Oh, wait. Just don't give him ideas.
Yeah well.
Seriously. Guilty by association now.
Yeah.
Well, certainly we can end on a better note than Lindsay Lohan.
I'm gonna try. Holy shit. Like, I had something I was gonna add. Like, something you had said at the very beginning made me think of another song that would have been perfect to tag in on this. And then you kept talking and I completely forgot what that extra tag was.
I have that effect on people.
So, I can't even like get into the intro that I wrote. So I had to ask myself, though, a question. And it was, what says creepy to me in song form? And I would say something mid-tempo, something that's, plodding, a track that just sets the mood so much that it casts the shadow, and so much it's like frequently used in film and television that to signify it's time to get creeped out. And then add in some deep literary stroke demonic references, and I give you my number one song for Halloween, the creepiest. It's Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds and his red right hand. So whose hand is it? Well, it's the demon Belial, of course. Why would you be surprised in the least that Cave would use Milton's Paradise Lost as a crib sheet when he wrote a song that he wanted to scare you with? And that thing, it starts immediately. It's just bong, and the dives into the organ and that synth line. It's harsh and then extremely uneasy. And Nick Cave's voice is chilling the entire way out through as he's retelling this story. But the last sentence in every swaying verse, where he puts the emphasis on those syllables, that it on his red right hand, bong. It is intense, and it is uncomfortable, and it is creepy, and it is the perfect table setter for what I have reluctantly finally agreed to call spooky season.
Woohoo!
Love it. That's the ending this show deserved.
Yes.
Yeah, like any reinterpretation of a classic such as Paradise Lost in something where you don't know, without at least, pulling back the covers a little bit more, that there is, that kind of reference back to an actual work, is just, it can fall flat, but when it's done right, like in this case, it could be absolute brilliance and absolutely scary as shit too.
Oh yeah. I think there was something in my brain that went through when you referenced a song being used in a TV show, because obviously that's the theme to Peaky Blinders, and a very effective one at that. But what that song was that I was originally thinking of that I wanted to mention, no bloody clue. I should be used to thinking of and then forgetting things by now, but
Yeah, we do that often in our age, in our seemingly advanced ages.
Old age and concussions will do that.
I can't even claim the concussion problem. I can't claim that. It's just age for me.
I'll own up to being dropped on my head multiple times. Just like I really, really, really need Zach to own up to explaining where everyone can connect with not only this podcast, but the show in general.
It's literally the least I could do after putting the listeners through what I just did. But I'm going to lead this time with the Instagram. That is at Fairly KickAss on Instagram, by the way. Twitter, at Fairly KickAss on Twitter. I refuse to call it the other name, and I will continue to refuse to call it the other name until I'm in the ground. So you can eat shit, Elon.
Hey, I think that he finally got the domain right.
I'm sure I've screwed that up a million times too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, as did Elon, clearly.
It's okay. Fuck him.
Fuck him. But don't fuck our email address. That is fairlykickass@gmail.com. Also on the web, fairlykickass.com for all of your behind the scenes type things. I don't know if we're going to have anything behind the scenes for this one, but we do have a lot of posts, and I'll shout out Dan here for being the main driver of the website, posting a lot of his full lists during the monthly reviews, all the newly charting singles. We only touch on a few of them, but if you go to the website, you can see all of them ranked in, with a scientific amount of detail.
One of these days, we're going to figure out how to deal with the video side of some of this stuff. And I'm just going to post a montage, a silent montage that has nothing to, there is no context in anything, just a montage of our facial reactions to each other's list from things.
Oh, that would be brilliant. And I'm excited for the day that comes.
Tonight would have gone viral. That's all I'm saying.
Seriously. There was some emoting going on behind all three of these microphones.
Little bit.
And if you want to hear more from behind all three of these microphones, then you're going to want to check out right here, where you're at right now. Check us out. Just search for Fairly KickAss, and you'll find us. You'll find all of our episodes. Most of them are not about Halloween at all. And, we've got a lot of things in the can that are awesome. As we record this, you won't be hearing it for another several weeks. By that time, we'll have even more stuff in the can. So this content ain't stopping, much to your chagrin, likely. So come check it out.
And also, by the time that you hear this, we'll have completely forgotten that we've done this show, and there's a good chance we'll do it again next year.
I think we should. That would be awesome.
It'll be a completely different list.
Ooh,
Indeed.
I have an idea. Hang on for a second.
What's that?
Until then, good night, ass kickers. Good night.